Remembering number 8. And we are at chapter 7. Lost in thought, Rory walked from the parking lot. He turned the corner and headed toward his apartment complex. Slipping the key into the apartment doors locked, he paused. Get a grip on yourself. You encounter situations like this every working day. Why has this one thrown you such a curve? He thought for a moment and then breathed a sigh of relief. Oh, of course, it was Friday. The week had been hectic, new clients, court cases. He just needed a break to recoup. Smiling, he turned the key. The apartment door opened to his cozy home. Rory bent, picked up the evening paper from the mat, stepped inside and closed the door. He dropped the paper and keys on the hall table as if shutting the outside world. Heading into his bedroom, Rory kicked off his shoes and flopped onto the bed. He had no time constraints for the entire weekend. His tired muscles relaxed and his mind drifted. Soon he was breathing deeply and slowly. From far away, Rory heard a sound of a phone ringing. Oh, not far away, the ring again. His phone. It jarred him back to the bedroom, and he quickly reached to answer. Dr. James? Came the voice over the line. Yes? Rory's voice was groggily, and he coughed to clear his throat. Hello? He spoke again, trying to sound alert and professional. It was his assistant at the center. I'm sorry to bother you, Dr. James. It's the woman we admitted this afternoon. She's insisting she must leave. We have orders to notify you of any changes. The center was his project. He had established it to assist women in trouble, a place for the emotionally wounded. It provided time, space, and support as they turned their lives around. It had been his brainchild, and because of the center, many had been helped during the last 3 years. It was not unusual that with the center's needs, Rory's work extended beyond the hours of his downtown counseling office. I'll be right down. Give me 5 minutes, Rory said. He placed the phone back in its cradle and scooted his feet around in search of his shoes. Dr. Rory James grabbed his car keys and rushed out of the door. 5 minutes later, he pulled into his parking space at the center. He walked briskly down the sanitized corridors to room 20A. This young woman had been brought in by a friend of his on the police force. She had been living on the streets, had broken no laws, but indicated she wanted help. Wanting help was enough to get space at the center if it was available. Rory's entire career had been about assisting those who needed support, and yet, for a reason he did not understand, the woman in room 20A had sparked something different. He knocked gently on the door before he turned the knob and entered. The young woman he knew only as Pam huddled at the head of her bed. Her arms wrapped around her knees. She was softly crying and rocking. Her pain filled the small room. Rory's heart went out to him. Rory's heart went out to her. Pam? He spoke her name softly. She seemed not to hear him. He had found it very beneficial to just be with his clients, let their action be as long as there was no possible harm. He pulled up a chair. I am here, Rory said, and then just sat and witnessed her slow rocking. Pam's eyes stared ahead as if seeing through windows to a scene he could not reach. He sat quietly, observing. Now was not the time to try to change or fix what she was experiencing. It was not the time to ask her to put words to her feelings. More time passed. Rory sat and noted his recognition of similar pains from other clients, the sadness, the helplessness, and the sense of no hope so many had felt. Then the emotions were his own, for friends lost, for patients untouched, for society's limits. These he moved through as a professional, being present for his client. Slowly, Pam's rocking ended and her crying stopped. Her eyes focused on Rory as if seeing him for the first time. He looked back into eyes that had haunted him from his earlier encounters, azure eyes, with depth and wisdom and deep sadness. A sense of loss lay within the blue, and again he felt pain for all those he had not been able to reach. A bubble rose up from deep within his heart and gave way to a sigh he could not suppress. At his releasing breath, she turned her eyes to the window, laid her head upon her knees, and wept. Slowly, composed, he reached out and placed his hand gently on her head. I would suggest that you not go. We have the safety that you need. The center is your place to be for now, Rory assured. His heart swelled with some unknown love and familiarity. Words tumbled from his mouth. We need you here. I know, she whispered and lay down on the bed and slept. Although Pam was calm enough to sleep, Rory's concern for her and so many like her continued. Situations such as this are what had moved him to open the center. Situations such as this were what made him see the value and limits of his work. Situations such as this is why he was restless with his career and why he wanted to know more. Far away in a more serene setting, Bob was gathering firewood as he walked the trails. It was an excellent way to keep dead branches cleaned up. Back in his camp, he placed the smaller branches over a nest of kindling. He felt such satisfaction when the campfire lit with just one match. A carryover from his scouting days, no doubt. The fire caught and leapt up the teepee of twigs. Bob added larger sticks to the glowing fire. He watched the flame twist and turn, change shape, reach for more fuel, and finally settle into a steady source of heat. The gyrating fire mesmerized him. It was part of the intrigue and healing of these weekends. Then the beautiful azure eyes came back to haunt him. They danced as the smoke curled. They laughed as the embers burned. The eyes became heavy and sad and slowly disappeared into the dusk of night. This waking vision shook Bob. It was as if the cry of the woman he had loved at some point in his earth lives sounded from across the world to him. He heard and was unable to run to her side. Not a religious man, Bob was a very spiritual being. He called out to all he knew that was good, the trees, the birds, the stream, and the moon hanging low in the sky. Take care of my love wherever she is tonight. Keep her safe. Whisper my love to the depth of her soul. He stared into the fire as tears fell from his eyes. Loneliness from some deep inner place spread throughout his chest. Bob sat next to the fire and sobbed. What did it mean? Where would he find her? Was it even possible? Sitting with his questions, embraced by the beauty of the mother, Bob spoke words that emerged unbidden. For eons, as high priest, I have held the vision for the earth, as well as the original ancient ones in their mission. My heart calls out into the silence of this great planet. I call for all to search their hearts. Are you a part of this mission? I need others to hold these visions with me. I long for them to come forward. I call for the circles that can stand together in strength and clarity. Our planet and its inhabitants are crying for healthy caregivers. She needs those who hear her cries to powerfully say, no, no, to the invaders who deceive, control, and use tyrannical power. Not only is the earth being damaged, but our societies are in great danger. From individuals to school systems, from businesses to governments, the effects of destructive attitudes and behaviors are everywhere. The current moment is the place to stand with the enormous power of personal voice. From this point in time and space, we can come together in all dimensions, bringing them to wholeness, transformed powerfully. We have the right to demand a return to free agency, uniqueness, love, and peace. I declare our sovereignty. Please open your hearts and join me. Chapter 8. We need you there. Pam's dreams had taken her back to where it had begun. Pain pounded in her head with the memories of father's beatings, the rape, and the powerlessness. She had blocked those days to survive. Pam closed her eyes, and last night the foggy memories forced their way out. The doctor sat, heard her cries, accepted her pain, and stayed. Was there finally someone who could sit, listen, and possibly understand? The thought that there may be safety was almost more than she could bear. He had come, he had witnessed, and he had stayed. Tears welled up and spilled down her face with the enormity of the experience. Pam closed her eyes and drifted. It was dusk when she finally awoke. In a few moments, she lay very still, orienting herself to the room. A soft knock. She looked up as a woman in her mid-50s looked in through the partially open door. Hello, you've been sleeping for quite a while. How are you feeling? Pam cleared her throat. Actually, I'm a little hungry. Well, that can be remedied. There's some home-made vegetable soup for dinner, and the cook makes wonderful rolls. Would you like milk or coffee? Pam closed her eyes. How long had it been since she had tasted fresh soup with homemade rolls? Oh, milk would be wonderful, thank you. The door closed. Pam slowly sat up and looked around the room. Her bundle was where she had left it. Her coat hung in clear view in the small closet. She swung her feet off the bed and eased up to make her way to the bathroom. At the sight of the mirror, she quickly turned away. Pam avoided mirrors. They reflected what she did not want to acknowledge. She felt dizzy. Pam sat down to relieve her body and held her head until the swirling stopped. Then she stood to wash her face and run her fingers through her short brown hair. She almost laughed. Her vision of long auburn curls flashed through her mind. She paused for a moment before opening the door to move back to her bed. There was a knock on the door as the same woman opened it carefully, balancing a tray of food that made Pam's mouth water. She said, "Here you go. By the way, my name is Marianne." Pam smiled at the slight southern lilt, and she shifted so the tray could sit over her lap. "If you need anything, just push the button on your bed. Dr. James will be in after you've eaten." Then straightening up, Marianne asked, "Is there anything else I can get you?" Pam shook her head. "No, and thank you." Marianne closed the door softly. Pam's hands shook as she broke a piece from the roll, dipped it in the hot soup. Putting it in her mouth, Pam savored every part of the small bit of bread. "Oh, please, let this be the time," she whispered, and slowly ate the delicious food, a symbol of a new start. Finished, Pam lay back on the pillow. She stared past the tray, past the walls, into scenes beyond this room. The words came back, words she had often heard during the very hardest times. "We need you there." When the anguish and the hurt had been more than she thought she could bear, she had sobbed and asked, why was she in this family, in this life? And there was a quiet voice. "We need you there." She had stayed when she would rather have given up. And what had the doctor said, or was it just a dream? Pam cleared her mind and brought back the memory. No, it wasn't a dream. He had reached out to touch her hair, and then he had said, "This is your place. We need you here." Tears welled up in her eyes, and what did it all mean? Could her life be put back together? Would she be able to do it all? She slid carefully under the bed tray, lay facing the wall, and closed her eyes again. Pam was slightly aware that the dinner tray was being removed, but she was at some faraway place, walking in woods. Not alone, but who was with her? She felt safe, happy, and she didn't want to come back. Pam went further into the dream.